Welcome to Tracy Erin Talks, where functional medicine meets personal development. You want to be living your best life, but the overwhelming amount of health information out there is confusing, and the way you think about yourself is keeping you stuck. You know you are meant for more. As a women's health specialist, my aim is to simplify and equip you with the tools you need to be beautifully balanced from the inside out. Welcome back to Tracy Erin Talks, where today I want to talk to you about a fun new little gadget that I have added into my wellness routine called hydrogen water. I learned about hydrogen water years ago, and I was fascinated by the concept of how it reduced inflammation and improved brain fog and energy levels in patients who were fatigued, and also athletic performance. And I just put it on the back burner of my mind, right? There's so many things that you can focus on. How can you possibly do everything at once? And I never recommend that you do. And every once in a while, something that you thought about years ago comes back around to the forefront of your mind, circles back into the front of your presence, and you think, okay, maybe this is now not time to ignore this, and I should go ahead and look into this. And that's exactly how hydrogen water worked for me. A couple weeks ago, I was remembering that there was this device that was oriented for travel, and it was small enough to fit into a purse, and all I needed was distilled water, and I could take it anywhere I go and turn it in, plug it in with a USB cord, and it just was almost like, this is too easy. Well, I looked a little bit further into it and I thought, I think this is something that I'm ready to invest in order to improve my own wellness and health, just to feel better throughout the day. I mean, honestly, I'm not feeling bad, but I'm all about health optimization and building my resiliency. So even though I'm not necessarily trying to address or treat certain symptoms or anything like that, I love anything that will improve my well being. And so I went ahead and placed the order, made the investment, and got a hydrogen water bottle that is on the go. And I want to tell you all about it because I'm about 3 weeks in to using it consistently. And I want to tell you what I'm noticing and what the benefits are from it. So, hydrogen water, as it might sound, is water that has extra hydrogen infused into the water. As you know from maybe high school biology, that water is actually two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecule. Those three together create what we call water. And hydrogen water is that plus extra hydrogen molecules inside the water. The device itself has a very small unit that creates a hydrogen gas and it infuses the water that you pour in from the top. So I would say the overall size of this unit that I have is maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches tall, maybe 3 inches wide, maybe 2.5. It's actually not very big. It's smaller than my water bottle, if that makes sense. And you have this screw top lid, and I undo that and I pour distilled water in the top, put the lid back on tightly, and I click the button twice on the bottom, and all of a sudden the color show starts in the water. It's kind of pretty to watch. And then the hydrogen gas starts infusing into my water. There's a 5 and a 10-minute setting. So I typically go for a 10-minute setting. And during that 10 minutes, my water is being infused with extra hydrogen. At the end of that 10-minute cycle, it will beep, and there is a pressure valve at the top that's very small. It's flat with the surface of the lid. And I just push on that to let a little bit of the gas out, sort of like a carbonated drink. And then I unscrew the water and I drink immediately. Now, the studies show that the hydrogen is good in water for about 10 hours. But obviously, the hydrogen atom, they say, is like the smallest molecule. And so you can fit like millions of them on the top of the pin. So obviously, any length of time or any kind of break in a seal is going to have a release of hydrogen atoms. And if I'm going to use this water, I want as much hydrogen as I can get in at once. So I like to drink it immediately. Now, there's 7 people in my family and we're all using it. So what I like to do is sort of a rule in my house, whenever we've used the hydrogen water, whoever is drank it, and we don't drink out of the water. We pour it into our own water glass and we keep the actual hydrogen water bottle free of, personal saliva and germs and all that kind of thing. So we keep that clean. We just pour the water out into a regular glass. And whenever anyone is done with that, the family rule is you fill it back up and you start the cycle again. So then whoever is ready for the next little bit of hydrogen water, and I would say it creates about 10 ounces. Okay. So you're looking at a little bit more than 1 cup of water, not a ton. So whoever used it last fills it back up, pushes the button twice, and then it sits there for 10 minutes. Then the next person can come along, use the hydrogen water, refill it, and it can go for the next person. And so with 7 people in my family, we're cycling through this hydrogen water pretty consistently throughout the day. And the recommendation is that you would have at least 3 of these a day, ideally 6. So it can get a little bit to be like something to stay on top of. I personally just think of it like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Before I eat any of my meals, I just make sure that I take my 10 ounces of hydrogen water. And that's how I remember to do it. As I'm preparing my meal, that typically doesn't take more than 10 minutes. Dinner might, but it's a nice little mark in my day that as soon as I start prepping my meal, I start my hydrogen water and then I drink it. And then, within a couple minutes or so, I can have my meal. Of course, you can have it on an empty stomach. It's just a way that I remember to take it 3 times a day. So, and you can drink as much of it as you want, and there's no overdosing and there's no risk at more hydrogen. So, just get in at least 3 if you end up bringing this into your wellness routine. Here's a couple of the reasons why this particular device is really handy is one, it travels easy. Like I mentioned, it's pretty small. It's smaller than a typical, like a stainless steel water bottle that you might carry around. It's easy to put it to a backpack. It's sort of indestructible. Uh, we've never, banged it up or dropped it or anything, but it feels very solid and very sturdy. I would not mind at all putting it into a suitcase or a backpack. I would totally trust its integrity. So it travels easy. And the only way that you need to recharge it is with a USB cord. So it's pretty simple. Every few days, we just charge it for an hour or so, and it's good to go. So, as far as that goes, it's super low maintenance. It is self-cleaning, so it's really nice that if you're not drinking out of it yourself, like putting it up to your lips, it is self-cleaning, so that's really nice with the hydrogen gas. Obviously, it has a little bit of, an aeration effect, and things like ozone and that sort of bubble away any kind of pathogens anyway, so with that extra effect, you wouldn't expect it to be, let's say, dirty, right? However, on the website, they do recommend that like every, oh, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks, you can fill it up with water, add a little bit of vinegar, let it sit overnight, and pour it out and rinse. If you're using distilled water, which is what is recommended, the next best thing would be reverse osmosis water. But if you're using the recommended water, then you're not getting the scales from tap water and you're not getting, the buildup that you get from even water that's been filtered through your refrigerator or through a typical charcoal type filter. Um, it's important to note that, if you're going to drink hydrogen water, which is supposed to be good for your health, you want to start with water that is actually good for your health. Now, I would love to do a podcast at some point about why I love distilled water. So keep your eye out for that. There's so many reasons why one should switch to distilled water. I made the switch about 3 years ago, and I just can't say enough good things about it. Just real quickly, distilled water is like the only water that can boast it being pure, actual pure water. There is 0 parts per billion in distilled water, and there's no other filtration of water that can actually say that. So that's pretty impressive. So you want to start with pure water in the hydrogen water. Now you can buy distilled water. You don't need a home distiller, although if you're going to switch to it, like I would recommend, then investing in a distiller is just a no-brainer anyway. But, if you're starting out with the hydrogen water before the distilled water, that's fine. Just get distilled water at the store, fill up your hydrogen water, and click the button twice. 10 minutes later, you have a power packed supplement. Like, think of it like medicine. It really is so powerful. So, what's the big deal about hydrogen? Why hydrogen? So, hydrogen in general reduces oxidative stress and inflammation in the body. Now, many people think that inflammation is the root cause to all disease. So, if we can lower inflammation, we need to do it from all angles, right? We need to do it from our diet. We need to do it from our lifestyle. We need to do it from our nutritional supplements. We can also do it in our water now. And that's a really powerful tool because most of our body is made up of water. We have a cellular structure that is built from the basis of water. So if we're putting back in water that reduces inflammation, it's actually healing. It's very healing for the body. So I love that. Other benefits for hydrogen water include slowing aging. Like if you're reducing inflammation, you're reducing reactive oxidation species, then you are reducing the overall risk of just an inflammatory process in the body. And inflammation is one of the leading factors. And I'm not talking about getting old, that's not something we can control, but the actual aging process where things begin to degrade. And so reducing the inflammation overall in the body can help with the aging process. Things like stiff joints in the morning, or even wrinkles and collagen production and things like that. It makes your skin glow. I have noticed this. In fact, people have said this to me, wow, you're glowing. And I just thought, oh, it's because I just got back from Spain and I have this wonderful tan. But maybe it's not that. Maybe it's the hydrogen water. One will never know. But I do feel like my skin is a little bit better over the last month. I don't know if it's all that Mediterranean love or if it's the hydrogen water. Either way, I'll take both, please. It helps with mental clarity. Like, it truly does reduce brain fog. It helps with that cognition. It helps with the speed of recall. It really does kind of clear out the cobwebs. So if brain fog is something on your list of symptoms that you're dealing with, this is some tool that you would want to really think twice about including in your wellness routine. Also, it just helps improve the energy levels, like can really ramp up the way that you feel during the day and can give you sustained energy, especially in those afternoon periods where energy levels tend to dip. This can be very powerful. Also, how about that sluggish feeling, right? That afternoon dip that I was just mentioning. A lot of people have a dip in their cortisol when their cortisol should be higher. And it's because we have such a high cortisol output. We get a little bit in a adrenal fatigue situation or a cortisol fatigue situation where those biofeedback loops aren't working as good as they should. So when we drink hydrogen water throughout the day, we can just keep our energy levels up and keep them steady and consistent. So it also can increase endurance. This is coming from research, and it's really amazing the studies out there on athletic performance. So I have all of my children who are athletes in their own way taking hydro or drinking hydrogen water as much as they can throughout the day. And I cannot wait to see the cumulative effects over time. But there's a lot of showy studies that show that it does improve and increase endurance and speed recovery, which is really, really great. If you're into training your body, if you've got body composition goals, if you've got weight loss goals, if you're just, walking and lifting weights like you should be every single day, you too should be concerned about the recovery speed that it requires for your body to get back to its baseline, and hydrogen water can speed that up. And another benefit that's come through a lot of research is just like waking up rested. I cannot tell you how many clients of mine say that they either sleep well or don't sleep well. No matter what, though, they're waking up as if they didn't sleep well. They wake up tired. So, waking up with a rested feeling, wow, is actually hard to come by. And hydrogen water is something that can really switch that around and also consequently promote some deep sleep, which is really, really amazing too. So, believe it or not, there's an entire website dedicated to hydrogen and scientific studies behind its use. It's called hydrogenstudies.com. And I'm just going to open it right now. You can search, there's a search bar at the top. You can type in a subject, a body part of a study. You can type in anything that you want, like eye health, conjunctivitis. You can type in multiple sclerosis. You can type in Lyme disease. You can type in anything, and you'll get studies that involve the use of hydrogen water in treating one of these conditions. So, like, for example, I just opened the website right now, and it says, I'm just going to read you some of these titles here because they're actually really fascinating. Number one, hydrogen attenuates endothelial glycocalyx damage associated with cardiopulmonary bypass. What does that mean? Okay, let me just tell you a side note. The glycocalyx had its moment after COVID because the glycocalyx is a lining in, it's part of the endothelial layer of all of our blood vessels, which was majorly impacted during this time when all of this was going on. And now we're starting to see all this research come out. How can we promote the health of our endothelial glycocalyx layer? Well, hydrogen is improving that in people. Imagine if you could just drink water and get better, right? So that's the first study there. Okay. Efficacy and safety of hydrogen therapy in patients with early stage interstitial lung disease. All right. Successful treatment of myalgic encephalomyelitis or chronic fatigue syndrome using hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas alleviates acute ethanol induced hepatotoxicity. All right. Let's see. There's some big words here. Hydrogen prevents lipopolysaccharide-induced pulmonary microvascular endothelial cell injury. Okay, we're talking about reducing inflammation on a cellular level in some really major illnesses and diseases. The efficacy of hydrogen oxygen therapy favored the recovery of SARS-CoV-2 variant, right? Again, like that glycocalyx. Can hydrogen water enhance oxygen saturation in patients with chronic lung disease? Comprehensive brain tissue metabolomics and biological network technology to decipher the mechanism, ... Not sure what that one's about. Hydrogen-rich saline promotes neuronal recovery in mice with cerebral ischemia. Wow, stroke, right? It can improve the structure of the brain after a stroke. How about retinal injury? Inhibition of retinal ischemia, reperfusion injury in rats by inhalation of low concentration hydrogen gas. Super amazing, right? The clinical research on the effect of hydrogen-rich water on primary retinitis pigmentosa. Polycystic ovary syndrome. This is totally in my in my vein of work. The effect of hydrogen-rich water on letrozole-induced polycystic ovarian syndrome. Then there's whole body sepsis, there's cancer, there's atrophy in muscles, there's chronic heart failure, more cancer, more metabolic syndrome, obesity, fatty liver disease, aging, heart failure, and it goes on and on and on. So the point of all of this is that there is a ton of research. There's not just anecdotal evidence, there is a ton of studies that have been published to show the efficacy of hydrogen water. So if you're looking for that next step to get to that next level, I would highly recommend this tool. It's a little bit of an investment, but you never have to replace it. And there's nothing else to do with it. It's really low, if not no maintenance. I just contacted the company of the device that I have a couple days ago, and I was able to secure a discount code for all of my listeners. And I'm going to put that in the show notes. So if this is something you want to include in your wellness routine, I would love for you to use that link and save a little bit of money and pass it on to your friends and your family members. Because just imagine if you could drink water while you're treating yourself, while you're getting better, while you're improving and optimizing your health. What easier way, right? And again, since you never have to buy anything new for it or replace anything in it, it's like a one-stop shop. So once you have it, you have it. And it's always good. So I really do love this device. I'll keep you posted over the weeks and months of how it's benefiting my family. And let me know if you get one. And I would love to hear from you how you're using it in your life too. All right. So here's to happy reducing inflammation in our lives. And until next time, friends, stay beautifully balanced. Thank you for joining me today on Tracy Erin Talks. I hope you found today's episode enriching to your life. If you enjoyed today's content, would you consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving a review? That simple act helps this podcast get into the hands and ears of many more women just like you. Remember, Anything you want and do not yet have will require a new set of beliefs, thoughts, actions, and a new you. I am honored to be on this journey with you as we wholeheartedly pursue true health and wellness in mind, body, and soul.